It was 7 a.m. on a Sunday as the sun began to rise. Soft light filtered into Melissa Wilson's apartment on the 25th floor of 1 Dalton Place, a luxury residence in Boston. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the cityscape stretched out before her. The gentle early summer breeze stirred the sheer curtains. "Good morning, Max," she said softly. The golden retriever, Max, came over wagging his tail and gently licked her hand. It had been 5 years since she'd adopted him from the shelter. His once timid eyes were now filled with love and trust. When she had stood at a crossroads in her life, meeting him had been her salvation. Now, he was her most faithful confidant. From the spacious living room windows, she could see the Prudential Center and the Museum of Fine Arts. The modern interior, done in shades of gray and white, was freshened by touches of greenery. On the table sat her breakfast, toast, fruit, and her favorite latte from Tat Bakery. It was like a quiet morning ritual on her day off. Checking her smartphone, she noticed 3 missed calls from her mother, Patricia. Probably wanting to brag about her sister again, Melissa thought with a small sigh. Her eyes fell on the family photo in a frame on the marble side table. There was Charles, her mild-mannered father who had worked at a regional bank for 35 years. Since retirement, he'd been pursuing his long-held dreams of gardening and woodworking. Her perfectionist mother, who had taught at the local high school, was now thoroughly immersed in social media. And then there was Ashley, her sister, an Instagram influencer with 500,000 followers. Everyone in the photo was smiling happily. Yet somehow, Melissa couldn't shake the feeling that behind those smiles lay hidden agendas. Melissa smiled wryly, remembering her sister's latest Instagram posts. A parade of flashy photos, luxury restaurants, designer bags, overseas trips. But half of those followers were purchased. What was her sister searching for in that space between reality and social media? James, Ashley's husband, supported his attention-seeking wife with gentle patience. As a middle manager at an IT company earning $120,000 a year, he couldn't stop his wife's extravagant spending despite their mounting debt. Melissa remembered James's wedding vows, "I'll support your dreams with everything I have." The sincerity in his expression that day still lingered in her memory. Last weekend's family dinner at her parents' house came flooding back. As the aroma of her mother's signature lasagna filled the air, the conversation, as usual, revolved around her sister. "Ashley, your followers have increased again." "That's wonderful," her mother exclaimed, peering at her daughter's phone screen with enthusiasm. Her eyes held the same proud look she once reserved for her students. "Yes, and I've got a new sponsor too." The luxury bag promotion from the other day got an amazing response. "Now I've got an offer from a fashion brand in Milan," Ashley boasted. Their father maintained his usual gentle smile beside her. Melissa quietly cleared the dishes, trying to blend into the background. She was in the final stages of a $50 million real estate deal and had an important project presentation coming up. But nobody asked about that. With each career advancement, she felt the distance between her and her family growing wider. Max rested his chin on her knee. As Melissa gently stroked his head, she gazed out the window. As vice president of Prime Estate, she earned $8 million annually. Her only indulgence was the Hermès Birkin bag she'd long dreamed of owning. With her simple navy pantsuit and subtle makeup, she might lack flash, but she had built up solid capabilities and achievements. Her work was fulfilling, and she had earned the trust of her clients. Though her family relationships were complicated, maybe this was okay. She had Max. She had her accomplishments. And she had an unknown future ahead. Sometimes, this distance even felt comfortable. The morning sun climbed higher as a new day began. Max's breathing created a peaceful rhythm in the quiet room. The scent of roses wafted through the Wilson family garden in the quiet residential area of Newton. The early summer flowers that her father had tenderly cultivated gleamed beautifully in the evening sun. Melissa heaved a deep sigh in front of her parents' front door. As she opened the door, her mother stood waiting in her usual perfect attire, a white cashmere twin set and pearl necklace. "Melissa, you're late. Ashley and her husband are already here." After offering a modest apology as she entered, Melissa could hear her sister's animated voice coming from the living room. "So anyway, this bag post got such an amazing response." The sponsor was thrilled. Ashley, dressed in the latest designer dress, was sitting gracefully on the sofa. Her husband James nodded along with her story while occasionally checking his smartphone. Their father wore his usual relaxed smile. The dining table was laden with their mother's specialty Italian dishes. The aroma of tomato-rich lasagna, homemade carbonara pasta, and a salad bursting with seasonal vegetables. The deep red Chianti in the wine glasses beautifully reflected the chandelier's light. "Come on, everyone, sit down. The food will get cold." At their mother's call, the family took their seats. Melissa quietly spread her napkin across her lap. "Ashley, I hear your posts are doing well again." Their mother initiated the conversation, her voice carrying a hint of pride. "Yes, I'm getting more sponsors. Especially a lot of interest from overseas brands." Ashley answered proudly, leaning forward with her elbows on the pristine white tablecloth as she began to speak. Melissa silently brought a forkful of pasta to her mouth. Suddenly, Ashley exclaimed, "Oh, that's right. You won't believe this, I've been invited to the Fashion Week show by the Milan brand Casabella." "Oh my. That's incredible." Their mother squealed. "Italy. Italy. I've never been there." Their mother's eyes sparkled. Ashley wore a meaningful expression. "Actually, I was thinking of making it a family trip. Papa, Mama, and James too." "That's wonderful." Their mother clapped her hands. "Since we're going, Papa and James should come see Rome and Florence too." "Yes, it's been a while since we had a family trip," their father smiled gently. Melissa felt her hand holding the fork tremble slightly. "Oh, Melissa will be working, right?" her mother said matter-of-factly. "You're always so busy." There was a hint of sarcasm in those words. "That's right," Ashley agreed. "Melissa is always busy with work." James silently stared at his plate. The conversation continued, buzzing with excitement about the Italy trip. The show in Milan, sightseeing in Rome, visiting museums in Florence. No one looked Melissa's way. "Oh, that reminds me," her mother suddenly said, as if just remembering something. "Melissa, while we're gone, could you look after the dog?" "Dog?" "Yes, Ashley's Pomeranian. It would be sad to leave him at a pet hotel." Her mother added with a light laugh, "Just taking him for walks." "You can manage that much, can't you?" In that moment, the room's atmosphere seemed to freeze. Ashley laughed in agreement. Melissa slowly wiped her mouth with her napkin, desperately suppressing the emotions swirling in her chest. "Yes, I understand." Her voice came out surprisingly calm. Their father silently gazed at the garden. James focused even more intently on his plate. Melissa took out her smartphone and casually looked at the screen. A faint smile played at the corners of her lips. "Would anyone like more wine?" Their mother's voice echoed across the twilight dinner table. Boston Logan International Airport was shrouded in morning mist. The Wilson family had gathered in the airport lobby while the sun was still rising. "Ashley, the lighting's better over here," Patricia guided her daughter toward the windows. "Let's post before heading to Italy. Your followers will love it." Ashley followed her mother's suggestion, taking photos from various angles in her latest travel wear. Charles had finished checking in their luggage and was confirming the boarding passes. James faithfully moved around as his wife's photography assistant. No one mentioned that Melissa wasn't there. Hours later, at the entrance of the luxury pet hotel Royal Paws, Melissa gently stroked Max's collar. In the luxurious lobby with its marble floors, the $1,000 per night suite was more lavish than many human hotels. "Max, stay here and relax for a while." Max looked at Melissa with his usual intelligent eyes, his gaze seeming to understand everything. "Don't worry, Ms. Wilson," the concierge responded politely. "We also offer daily video call services." Melissa nodded with a smile. Her smartphone had already received a reservation confirmation email from the Ritz London. In the car heading to the office, her secretary Jennifer called. "Vice President Wilson, I'd like to confirm today's final schedule. At 10 a.m., final contract review for the $50 million deal. At 11:30, meeting with the legal department. At 2 p.m., preparation for the board presentation." Melissa responded in a composed voice while checking her reflection in the car window. Navy pantsuit with subtle pearl earrings. Perfect grooming. Arriving at Prime Estate's office, she headed straight to the conference room. From the top-floor conference room's large windows, the Boston skyline spread out before her. Thick stacks of contracts were arranged on the table. "Let's begin the final review," Melissa's voice resonated quietly. Time passed without even a chance for lunch. By evening, things finally settled down. Secretary Jennifer brought in coffee. "Everything is ready for your London business trip tomorrow." Melissa smiled. "Thank you. But I haven't told my family about this yet." Jennifer nodded understandingly. As Melissa's longtime secretary, she knew the complexities of her family relationships. "I'll be heading home then. The driver will pick you up first thing tomorrow morning." Left alone in the office, Melissa stood staring at the night view. Was the plane carrying her family somewhere over Italy now? Taking out her smartphone, she checked the live camera feed from Royal Paws. Max was sleeping contentedly on his luxurious bed. The sight brought an involuntary smile to her face. The next morning, in first class on a plane bound for London, Melissa gazed out the window. The morning sun peeking through gaps in the clouds seemed to herald a new beginning. The flight attendant poured fine champagne and explained the in-flight meal menu. Melissa nodded quietly. Her smartphone showed no messages from her family. Instead, she had received a confirmation for a video call with Max. The suite at the Ritz exuded luxury with its mix of tradition and dignity. Classical furnishings, finest linens, and a balcony overlooking Green Park. That afternoon, Melissa visited the British Museum. Walking through the quiet exhibition rooms, she felt her mind settling. Ancient Greek sculptures, Egyptian mummies, the Rosetta Stone. Human history spoke to her quietly. Dinner was at the 3 Michelin-starred Gordon Ramsay. Perfect service, refined cuisine. The sommelier's selected wine sparkled in her glass. "Your dessert is ready," the waiter announced. "The chef has prepared a special surprise for you today." Melissa nodded gracefully. Outside the window, London's night scene glittered. Back at the hotel, wrapped in a bathrobe on the balcony, she felt the warm night breeze on her cheeks. Taking out her smartphone, she started a video call with Max. On screen, Max wagged his tail. He seemed to be enjoying a blissful time on his luxury suite bed. That night, Melissa enjoyed her most peaceful sleep in a long time. Important business negotiations would begin the next morning. New real estate development projects, meetings with investors, contract signings. And there was another purpose she hadn't told anyone about. Plans to establish Prime Estate's European branch office in a prime London location. What her family was doing in Italy had completely left Melissa's mind. Only a quiet satisfaction spread through her chest. During her final video call with Max, Melissa spoke with a smile. "Hey, Max, our new adventure is about to begin." Countless stars twinkled in the London night sky. The 2 weeks in Italy passed like a dream for Ashley and the others. Milan Fashion Week, touring Roman ruins, visiting museums in Florence. Ashley's Instagram overflowed with glamorous posts daily, and the whole family was intoxicated by her followers' enthusiastic responses. However, reality hit hard the moment they landed at Boston Logan International Airport. "I'm exhausted," Patricia sighed. "But it was a wonderful trip." Charles silently carried the luggage while James rubbed his sleepy eyes. Only Ashley was still editing posts on her smartphone. "Well, let's head home," Patricia announced. "We need to pick up Ashley's dog too." They got into a taxi and headed to the family home in Newton. Upon arrival, they noticed the first oddity. 20 voicemails? Patricia's eyes widened. Playing the messages, They heard a series of communications from the luxury pet hotel Royal Paws. Please confirm your video call time for today. Your pet is enjoying a comfortable stay. Your spa treatment reservation has been confirmed. Video calls? Spa. Ashley tilted her head. Where's my dog? A formal envelope lay on the living room table. Royal Paws invoice? Patricia opened the envelope with trembling hands. $1,000 per day, for 14 days. Charles calculated. That's $14,000? You're kidding. Ashley cried out. I didn't even know such a luxury pet hotel existed. As the family stood dumbfounded, James found another envelope. It's a note from Melissa. I enjoyed spending time with Max. Don't worry about the bill. It's already been paid on my card. Melissa. Melissa? Patricia's voice trembled. What does this mean? Just then, Charles called out from the study. Everyone, come look at this. Melissa's study. A room they never entered. Neatly arranged documents. The walls were covered with framed photos and articles. This is... Patricia gasped. A Wall Street Journal feature article. New generation real estate innovator, Prime Estate Vice President Melissa Wilson. And a photo of Melissa smiling with Tower Bridge in the background from the Ritz, London. This is from last week. Charles managed to say. Even more shocking documents lay on the desk. Prime Estate European Branch Establishment Plan. London office opening approval. Ashley collapsed into a chair. While we were in Italy, James continued, she was establishing the European branch in London. Silence dominated the room. The setting sun streaming through the study window illuminated the numerous achievements on the wall. The smartphone on the table vibrated with a new notification. Today's update on Master Max. The attached photo showed Max relaxing in a luxury suite, with Melissa smiling gently beside him. The timestamp was from just an hour ago. What have we done? Patricia sank into a chair, the color draining from her face. Ashley opened her Instagram. All those glamorous posts. But now they seemed empty. Big sister, all alone, all this time. Her voice trembled. Charles stood by the window, gazing at the roses in the garden. They were in full bloom now. The flowers he had planted with Melissa when she was a child. Papa. Ashley called out. We never tried to see Melissa's true self, did we? Charles's voice was filled with deep regret. There were more important things than Instagram likes, Patricia murmured. Her pearl necklace glinted sadly in the sunset. Just then, the study door creaked softly. Turning around, they saw Melissa standing there in a simple navy pantsuit. Though she looked tired, her expression was refreshing. Welcome back, her quiet voice echoed through the twilit study. The entire family held their breath, unable to find words. Did you enjoy Italy? Melissa smiled gently. Her expression showed no anger or sarcasm. Melissa, we Patricia tried to stand. Melissa quietly raised her hand. You must be tired. Get some rest. Melissa walked to the window and gazed at the roses in the garden. I have Max. I have my work. And I have my own life. The setting sun painted the sky. In the study, no one could move. They could only watch Melissa's back. That back had somehow grown to look so dignified. 1 month later, on a Sunday, at Tat Bakery, a small cafe in Newton, where the soft early summer sunlight filtered in, Melissa and her mother Patricia sat facing each other at a table by the large window. On the table were 2 cafe lattes and untouched blueberry scones. Under the humid, cloudy sky, silence enveloped them both. Patricia unconsciously touched her pearl necklace as she began to speak. I really didn't understand anything about you. Melissa slowly brought her latte to her lips. There was a certain elegance in her gesture. Yes, but that's what we can work on now, isn't it? A quiet response. Her voice carried a slight hint of hope. I've been reflecting about being so obsessed with social media. Patricia's voice trembled. Being so caught up in Ashley's posts, never trying to see who you really were. Outside the window, people hurried past on the street. Over the past month, signs of change had begun to appear in each family member. Her mother had consciously reduced her frequency of social media posts. Still, old habits occasionally surfaced. Melissa smiled slightly when she saw her mother wanting to take photos, saying, "What a lovely restaurant." Her sister Ashley had begun to feel anxious about her declining follower count. She was finally facing the reality of her purchased followers disappearing one by one. The other day, her sister had called with an awkward question. How do I find my real self? Melissa didn't rush to answer that question. Her father had started showing interest in Melissa's work. What exactly do you do in real estate development? Though his understanding was basic, there was genuine sincerity in his eyes. James had chosen to maintain the status quo. Still, he quietly watched over the changes in his wife, Ashley. Patricia hesitantly spoke up. Would you like to have dinner with the family next Sunday? Melissa thought for a moment, then nodded. May I bring Max? Of course, her mother showed a genuinely warm smile for the first time. I'll research what he likes to eat. Finally, hands reached for the scones on the table. Outside the window, the sky was gradually clearing. Maybe there's no such thing as a perfect family, Melissa murmured quietly. But this is okay. Little by little, slowly. Her mother nodded silently at these words. Her pearl necklace softly gleamed in the incoming sunlight. When they left the cafe, the distance between them had shrunk just a tiny bit from when they had arrived. Melissa stopped at the florist's shop on the street. There's somewhere I'd like to go. Her mother smiled gently. Go ahead. Walking toward her parents' house with a bouquet of roses, Melissa took out her smartphone. While making a video call appointment with Max, she thought, there's no perfect solution. But this isn't the end. It's a new beginning. Like the roses blooming in her parents' garden, taking time, little by little. That night, Melissa took a photo of her parents' garden for the first time in a long while. But she didn't upload it to social media. Instead, she kept it quietly in her heart as a precious memory. The early summer evening breeze gently carried the scent of roses.